the next big thing for African fashion? Like, how can we take it to the next level? How can we showcase it on a global stage? We will be discussing all this and more as we dissect the topic showcasing African fashion into the global catwalk. Now, my name is Jane Aimahoa, and I'm a content creator at Coco TV Nigeria. And I have with me two amazing panelists who, with their understanding and expertise, will be shedding more light on the said topic. I will be starting with the lady, as expected. She is a model, a multiple award winning fashion designer. She is the creator of the clothing line Black Belt. She is the executive director and the founder of the African Fashion Week Amsterdam. She's not just a blend of elegance and talent, but intelligence, as she has a master's in international tourism and travel management. In the flesh, she is no other than Diana Tambeyo. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and also moving on, I have with me a business and fashion guru. He definitely knows how to connect the bridge between fashion and business. He might not have a fashion background, but he is a brand expert, a business developer, and event manager. He is the CEO of the DDB Mozambique, an agency that organizes the Mozambique Fashion Week. Now, the Mozambique Fashion Week, with his expertise, has been able to be had in venues that not many would have welcomed it. For instance, it has been had in the Central Railway Station, the Maputo International Airport, all in Mozambique. He is so creative that he has been able to uniquely create awareness using the Mozambique Fashion Week for breast cancer, skin cancer, domestic violence, LGBT rights. Like, the list is actually endless, but he's no one other than Vasco Rocha. I hope I got that name correctly. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm literally so excited about the session because we're going to be talking about how to take African fashion into the global catalog, how to showcase it more. And I love the fact that I have two great minds with me, that's Diana and Vasco, who are doing the same thing, but in different spaces and using different creative techniques to achieve it. For instance, we have Diana, who is focused on ensuring that African and African inspired fashion brands are able to get the recognition they deserve, like their European counterparts. And on the other hand, we have Vasco, who is ensuring that Mozambique is put on the global map of fashion. So, in order to start this session, I'd love us to shed light on what an African conscious fashion brand is from a various perspectives. And as usual, Diana, you can go first.
Yes. The most important thing when you're talking about an Africa conscious brand, we're talking about ethical and sustainable fashion brand. For years, the retail industry has grown rapidly without much care on how growth is impacting our environment. So we're talking about ethical, we're talking about sustainability.
All right, I love how you branch into ethical and sustainability. I love how you're able to connect it into what you do. So before I go deeper into that ethical, I love to hear what Vasco thinks of who and what an African conscious fashion brand is.
Well, I believe my point here is I believe that African countries needs to show the world the, the development that has been made in the last years, and show the beauty, the power, and the strong that Africa can be when you have the opportunity to show. So African is a young continent, and have a lot of people, have a lot of young people that can show a lot of creativity, and if they have the opportunity, they can show their value and to the world, and obviously their culture by the canvas. So I believe if we go on that route, obviously, as Diana said, with the sustainability and the ethical, we will create a powerful Africa brand where we can make an umbrella where all the countries, the 54 countries of Africa, they will be under that umbrella and show effectively to the world what is the power of Africa, of this beautiful continent.
I love how you said that Africa is a young continent. I'm sure we all can agree that Africa is a fashion market that not many has harnessed to the fullest. And I love the fact that you're both into fashion weeks, be it in Amsterdam, be it in Mozambique. Like I said, you're doing the same thing in different spaces using different creative techniques. So how do you go about sourcing for fashion designers? What is the process? How do you achieve this? Because the truth is, you're literally bringing African fashion designers and those that are inspired by Africa from different places in the globe and bringing them to a particular space to be able to work in alignment with a theme. So how do you achieve this? Vasco, you could go first this time.
Well, thank you. I believe that for you to source the African designers, and basically have in consideration that you have 60% of population, 50, 60% of population in Africa that is under the 30 years, you have a huge window of potential creative people. So what you need to do is eventually to educate or to train them, to give them the tools for them to show their creativity. Again, we are a continent. We are under the same continent, but we have also different trends in each of the countries. So we are culturally rich. We have a huge richness on culture and on different culture. And I believe, as on the last panel, the communities, because they are all spread in the continent, the communities can bring to this table a lot of knowledge. And with that knowledge and combine it with the technical education, you can create huge and different things to show to the world. So if you pick the youngsters from this spectrum and the youngsters that have that trend to go to fashion, that they have passion for fashion, so they will go and they will start creating the a blend from that local culture to African culture and to a continent one. So with that, you can create, like, I'm not saying an African brand because that probably is a very far from. But I believe we should create like an African identity where you can try to push the designers to go into and showcase internationally, and obviously showcase all the culture. Because my sense it's fashion is not only about fashion. Fashion is more than fashion. Fashion can create development, can create influence. So we can use this tool to, so we can use fashion tool to influenciate and to create the diversity and attention to several problems. So all the designers need to have also that identification inside them to create this opportunity also for them to claim and to shout the world and show to the world the difference that we have been doing here.
Wow. Thank you so much, Vasco. Okay, let's hit it, Diana.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I said, how do you source for this fine? How do you source for African designers, knowing that you bring is as good as you're bringing different fashion designers from different parts of the world to Amsterdam, especially when you're doing the African Fashion Week Amsterdam. So how do you achieve that?
Right. Our platform, first of all, our platform is a global platform, and we have a presence online, social media. We have a web presence as well. So designers come to us. We don't actually source for our designers. We have a registration platform where hundreds of designers register annually, and we only have to pick 12, 15, or 30 designers per event. So we source our designers by our online platform. There are other designers that we recognize, and we recognize their talent and their craft, and we approach them and tell them, okay, we would like you to feature on our platform this edition or that edition, and we feature them on our platform. But then most of the time, we let them designers come to us to register online. That's how we source our designers.
When we were speaking earlier, you mentioned ethical fashion, sustainability, and then when Vasco was speaking, he said that fashion is beyond fashion. Fashion is what you can use to create a change, is It's now about diversity. So have you delved into ethical fashion? Are we going to be seeing it on the runway anytime soon? How have you been able to incorporate ethical fashion, environmental sustainability, social consciousness into your brand, into the fashion weeks to showcase that?
Well, first
Diana?
of all, it is argued, yes, fashion is perpetual of our climate change. As fiber finds its ways and into the oceans and companies burn clothes as not to discount them, more often than not to retail them. Therefore, manufacturing, sourcing, and packaging, transportation, all this contribute to carbon footprint that contributes to the climate environment and problems that we are facing currently. So for our brands, we have decided to key into the sustainability aspect of it, producing using organic cotton in the production for my brand, using organic cotton in the production of my collections, and working with locals, handmade, more handmade. How do you say handmade materials in the
Yeah.
production?
Wow. Wow. Working with lots of locals. Okay. Let's hear from
Yeah.
Bradley's perspective.
Well, in Mozambique, the platform, we are not working with all the elements that we want to work at this stage. But the platform that we have is to identify our designers or the ones that have potential. So we go to the schools. We have a project called MFW School, where all the schools that are interested, youngsters can be one or they can be on a group of two or three. They can start drawing and creating one fabric to show. From there, we start identifying them and pushing them and putting them on the program that is the Young Designers Program, where they need to do 3 to 6 outfits to showcase. And then the best or the two, three best ones, we send them to the program we have around 10 years already with the Italian of fashion, in a sense of they go to Italy. They're around 1 week, 1 week and some days, so they will be getting education and training to understand better all the technical things around fashion trends and all that. So they will also showcase some material with other people that are on the same week there in Italy. And then we have what we call 3 years later, when they have more than 3 years, we push them to a level of more fabrics, the quantity, the quality, the creativity, and also that's because we invite some brands them with the different briefs for them to identify the brief, create by themselves with the brief that come from the brands, and obviously make a collection. So that is because, as I believe you know, in Mozambique and probably some other countries in Africa, you don't have any fashion design school. So most of them are learning by themselves and by the programs that we create to interchange between international designers like from Portugal, from Italy, from other countries in Africa, from Japan. So this interaction with them to push them to different levels. So there's already a conscience. So you've been creating a conscience between them, where they already been working with sustainable materials. They already been having the conscience of the waste. Even this year we will have the topics for this year is diversity, inclusion, and gender. So we are pushing them to different levels. So for us to give the jump eventually for outside Mozambique, we need obviously to increase more the education because they have the creativity. They are young. They have the creativity. They need now to have the more information and more education around all the important techniques to produce their collections. Even though taking also in consideration there are other constraints. So, and I believe those constraints you have also in other countries in Africa. That is, you don't have factories. Probably have the cotton being produced, but you don't have factories to process the cotton, to give the cotton and conditions for them to work. So sometimes the fabrics are imported from outside the country. So with our platform and the connections we made outside, there's been opportunity for them to showcase already in some different countries outside Mozambique and outside Africa. And our belief is eventually to start going with this event to outside Africa, eventually to produce one Mozambique Fashion Week or African uh, flavor in Europe or other continents, to start showcasing them, to show them to the world, but again, also not to show fashion, but to show or to take with the color of the canvas, smell, the taste of Africa, of Mozambique in this case, or Africa in general, to outside this continent.
Wow, wow. I love how you're focused on empowering the people that you work with, empowering the youth. And I love how Diane on her own end works with locals in able to achieve good products and good materials. I am really excited about the fact that we are all embracing ethical fashion, environmental sustainability. There's that consciousness now that fashion is beyond, like what Pascal said, fashion is beyond what we see or how you dress, but now it's in order to make a change. So I would love us to go further as we shed light on what in African fashion, what do we think is missing in African fashion? You know, that why hasn't it gotten to that global point, to that point where it can stand, most of our African brands can stand beside their European counterparts like Prada. What do we think is missing when it comes to African fashion? Diana, you could go first.
Yes. Okay. Well, what is missing is that today a number of Africans or consumers are starting to actually use or purchase African-made products because they want to be part of those who consume eco-friendly clothing, right? The challenges that most African designers or African-inspired designers face is because the perception that people think that their brands are low quality or they don't have the awareness they deserve. They're not popular. They don't have the awareness they deserve, and low quality in their production. But that is not the case. That is not the case because most designers actually are doing really well in Africa. You can see how do you call them brand? I don't want to call the branding names, but the designer in London was half Indian and half African. Actually produced a collection for Christian Dior and Beyonce, Ivy Park. But these designers are not on the forefront because of the big brands that overshadow them. This is also one of the issues that African brands designers face in the consuming world.
Wow, wow, that is very deep, and I think it tends down to branding, the consciousness, the mindset that your product is good enough. I think it tends down to branding. So, Vasco, what do you think about that?
Well, picking so starting where Diana finished, I believe that there's some reason in what she was speaking, but again, I believe it, we need to change that, and we need to change the power that we have to influence, because
Yeah.
the designers can't be overshadowed. The designers need to be free to show their creativity to the world. For that, I believe we need to start changing the mindset from the beginning. Probably we will not change it today, but we need to change the mindset from the beginning. And from the beginning, I believe is the power and the power of influence that fashion have, and the power we have also on the the consumers to start speaking at one voice and show them what is the fact, in fact, the power of the African creative. But we need to unify, and we need to obviously also to educate more and train more our people for them to understand our people, our designers in this case, for them to understand what are the roads that they can go into to achieve those results. Also, I believe from the governments, so from the government side, from the cultural and commerce areas, they need to support and they need to push more to have pride on the African product. He's not saying he's doing it, he's showing it and putting it in the map. Because if they put it in the map also, the, the new industrialization of Africa, well, the new trend of industrialization in Africa can take to the world a different kind of concepts, a different kind of fabrics, and a different kind of creativity. And then you will build not one, but probably several brands that have the power of change all of this mindset that lives today in our minds.
Wow, wow. I am really excited. Like the things that I'm hearing that we are revealing is actually something that we really need to take note of, especially the fact that both of you agree on the mindset of these African designers. So I want to know, yes, we have the African Fashion Week Amsterdam, we have the Mozambique Fashion Week. From your end as a brand, what steps have you taken in order to showcase African fashion into the global catwalk? Vasco, you could just pick it up and then Diana will finish it for us.
I don't know if he's listening.
Sorry?
I don't know if he's listening.
Should I
Well,
repeat the question?
Yes, probably it's better for you to repeat the question, please. Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
understand properly.
Okay. I said I love the fact that we are laying emphasis on the mindset of African fashion designers and what we need to do in order to showcase it on the global catwalk. Then I asked that as a brand, yes, we have the African Fashion Week Amsterdam, we have the Mozambique Fashion Week. I then asked that what steps as a brand have you taken to launch or showcase African fashion into the global catwalk?
Well, Mozambique Fashion Week can work with the Amsterdam Fashion Week, and we can also go to Holland or to Amsterdam and do something that we will speak probably with Diana. But I believe that, and because she have the name African Fashion Week, she can do, for instance, in Africa, in Amsterdam, sorry, a combination of several countries, and there are several countries that have and rich brands and designers to showcase. So it's like going to the center, not the center of the world, but center of Europe, and start creating a small step, if I can say. And I believe step by step, with everything planned, with some eventually commercial brands to helping us structuring all of that, and eventually also some governments or some other institutions connected with the fashion development and so on, to start showing the reality. The I believe, as I said, the transparency, the roots, the grassroots fashion, where we come from, where the African designers come from, the colors, the shapes, and show it to start showing the Europeans, because somehow, some way, and we need to start. We need to give some steps, and I'm not thinking that the big shows, Paris Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, will be looking to this, because they are more concerned on showing other kind of fashion, other kind of brands, and obviously to be more profitable for them at this stage. But you never know if the new comers that will come from this continent can be in the near future somehow the top designers in the world. You never know.
Wow. Wow. Diana, what do you have to say about that?
Thank you. Let me start with people who really brought African fashion to the mainstream. For example, when Michelle Obama and Beyonce attended high-profile events, including made from African fashion designers, it was sure sign that the continent's vibrant style has arrived on the world stage, right? So us,
Yeah.
with Vasco and myself, already having platforms like this that enable designers to showcase their and talent, their art and craft on international runways in London, or in stores in London, on runways in London or Amsterdam or even Mozambique. Especially with our event platform, the Africa Fashion Week Amsterdam, is a sign that borders change of our attitudes towards the continent, which is earning a brighter reputation beyond stories of war and disease. Because when you're mentioning Africa, all people can relate to is stories with war and disease. But
Exactly.
with with our global platform now, we are trying to showcase that there's more to our stories than that. So we are promoting and empowering these designers with our programs, with our fashion shows, with our networking sessions.
Now, I'm going to take it from the fashion. You want to say something, Vasco?
Yes, I was saying that it was because of that, Diana, that when we start Mozambique Fashion Week, it was 17 years ago. The idea of the platform, it was exactly that one, is to show to the world a different Mozambique, not a Mozambique that was standing the hand only to ask money because they need this or they need that, or because they were afloat, or people from the war, but also to take that mindset from the world, or to try to take that mindset of the world and start showing a positive country. So to show positive things. So at that time, we do it in different places every day, like in the city council, on the train station, on the old fortress, to show
Mm-hmm.
elements of tourism, to show elements of gastronomy. You know, the platform was in the middle, in fact, but around it to have different things. We
Mm-hmm.
invite people to come here. We put magazines speaking about this in a way for people at least looking to a country and not understanding that, well, that it will be awful living on that country. It isn't. Yes, it's a poor
Mm-hmm.
country, but yes, it's a rich country in a lot of things, and probably in the future will be even more richer. So we need to
Mm-hmm.
be positive, and we need to cross positivism outside. And I believe fashion, or in this case, Mozambique Fashion Week, did that. And it
Yeah.
was interesting to understand the fly magazines from South African Airways, from Ethiopia, from even from Mozambique, to have 2, 3, 4 pages speaking about the trend in Mozambique, the Mozambique Fashion Week, and so on. So even Pursuit, the magazine, made the articles about this. So I agree 100% with Anna. So we can't look to Africa saying, well, poor boys that are on that continent, poor continent. We are not
Mm-hmm.
poor country. Yes, we have problems, as all continents have problems. It's true. Probably we are poor in the fake sense, because this continent is very rich. Um, what we need, in fact, is with something to show difference, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously using a flag, a fashion flag, to show that we are Africa, and we are here, and we stand.
Right.
I think his network is having his connection rather is having a little problem. But Diana,
Mm-hmm.
you could continue for us because I'm loving what he's saying. The phrase of
Yes.
the fashion Africans raising the fashion flag, and the
Yeah.
fact that we are a rich continent. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Sure. Is he back?
Not yet, not yet. Okay, but
Yes.
let's okay, he's back. You were saying, Vasco,
Yeah.
about the fashion flag in Africa. Yeah.
Internet is also a problem in Africa, but okay, it's better. So It was, I said, and it was what Diana was saying. It is true. It is 100% true. I'm one of the persons that I believe that we can go a lot more further, a lot more, but we need to be positive, and we need to show that positiveness to the people, to the world consuming people, and to the world consumer mindset. Um, and I believe these are steps. Even this forum is a step for that, to show that we are Africans, and we are proud of it, and we will show to the world what is our value. As simple as that.
Wow. Exactly. Like this
And
forum, the African. Yeah, you can speak, Diana.
yes, and I was gonna say, you probably have noticed mainstream brands that have used African print or African inspired designers in producing their collections, such as Yves Saint Laurent and the rest, and Burberry, Louis Vuitton. I don't want to call the brands. But consumers now today want products made by Africans, not replicas produced by the Western clothing chain. So this is also something that we is putting Africa on the map, because consumers are looking now to consuming African produced or African made brands, clothing made by African designers and not replicas. This is where we are heading.
Now, even the fact that this continent, as I said, it's the normal average in Africa is 50% under 30, under 30 years. So, are you seeing in the next years the level of consumers that only the continent will have? It's huge.
Yeah.
So we need to
Yeah.
look also to inside, because we have an inside market. I'm not saying it's so big as the outside because there are more continents outside, but we have an inside market that will grow a lot in the next years. And it will be huge, even for the African designers, keeping inside home and doing all the best they can for the African consumers. But obviously, we need to also go worldwide. But that's something that also people that work in fashion and eventually the designers, the brands, should look into, because it's a huge market for them also.
Yeah. Wow. I once again I'm really enjoying this session, and I love how we are, even as we are discussing about other aspects of African fashion and showcasing it into the global catwalk, we are mentioning some of the challenges that that we encounter in terms of the mindsets and all. I'd love us to actually speak about a particular challenge, if that actually exists. I don't know if we've come across the challenge of sizing in terms of the model, because when you look at the European counterparts of the Paris Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, we usually have just mostly slim models, except there's a particular collection that is showing plus size, that's using plus size models. How has sizing affected the Fashion Week when it comes to Africa, and how, because the fact is Africans, we are actually not usually size 8. Not everybody. We are tilting more to the curvy. We are curvy. We are big. You understand, and cute and all. So how have you been able to incorporate that particular aspect of Africa, being that you're on a platform that represents Africa? So I would love to hear from Diane and then Pascal.
Yes. Thank you. Vasco, you going first?
You can, ladies first, please.
Thank you. So nowadays, you probably have noticed in the last fashion week in Paris that you saw the most famous model, Naomi Campbell, on the runway. And if you have noticed, Naomi Campbell has increased in inches. She's not the typical skinny model that we used to know in the days of 90s later fashion. So we have, that is one of the our main strategy we're trying to implement on the runway now. We're not only going to be working with the usual skinny models, we're trying to change the narrative. We have plus size models doing shows nowadays. We have plus size modeling shows. So they stole the norms that designers produce their collection based on the sizes SM model built. Other designers do not follow that principle. They do not follow that norm. they produce that collection based on how they feel and what they want to show, and the statement they want to come across, that the statement they want to make on the runway. So it's different for the designers, and we just supply them with the models they need. They want plus size models, we supply them with plus size models. They want normal models from the size of S to M, we supply them with the models of that category. But we let the designers to express their creativity as further and broader as they want to reach.
Wow. Let's go.
Well, here we are using different kind of models, but I believe it's probably easier than Europe because normally we select the models and we send the models for the designers with all the measurements. So when they are doing the collection, at least to present on the Fashion Week, on the Mozambique Fashion Week, they have all the measurements. So I believe it was before or last year or 2 years ago, we start using different kind of models, not the standard ones, the ones that are, as was said, skinny and so on, but already going out of that standard. But again, also, even the high, we put a bit down. Not too much, but a little bit, and also to give more opportunity for models to appear because Mozambique, you have top youngsters, high youngsters, but the majority is a little bit low. So we are changing all this in these years, in the last years. Also, we've been using what we call albino models in the catwalk. So this year we will have more. I'm not saying XXXL, but we will have what it's called the normal size models in the catwalk.
Wow. I am actually loving this. I actually even watched I've watched the African Fashion Week Amsterdam, and then I watched the specific one of the Mozambique Fashion Week where we had close size models, we had the skinny models, and then I saw some models on a wheelchair, and it was actually touching because that is something that I personally have not seen on any stage before. So the fact that you could actually think that deep and bring out something so creative, like I sit and I wonder, and I'm like, how did you come about that? Like, how did you achieve that?
That was one show that we made some years ago, only for XXL ladies. But also at the time, it was one shop, one designer that had those kind of fabrics. Otherwise, it's not common you reach that kind of fabrics available for doing that. But it was funny, interesting. Even the public, the consumer was a little bit different because, well, you know that is the XL show, and so the people goes. It will be different people seeing that, and it was interesting night at the interesting show. But now we are trying not to do that as a trend because it is not a trend, but at least to mix a little bit more the models, the size of the models in the catwalk.
Wow. I love the uniqueness in everything that the Mozambique Fashion Week stands, and I love what the African Fashion Week Amsterdam stands for. And then uniqueness, when I speak of uniqueness, I love the uniqueness in terms of the theme, because sometimes when you sit and you look at the themes and what you aim and are able to achieve with the theme. For instance, I know that Diana has some strong themes and how she portrays them on the catwalk. And on the other hand, Vasco has been able to create awareness. Like when I saw the video of the awareness for breast cancer, the awareness for domestic violence, I was moved to tears. So I would love us to shed light from Diana's end on how she comes about her themes, how you achieve it, because they're actually beautiful and they're actually already passing the message even before you start seeing the models on the runway. And then on the other hand, Vasco, how you're able to achieve this awareness. Like it was actually, frankly speaking, I've never seen breast cancer awareness created the way it was created by the Mozambique Fashion Week. So I'd love to hear from Diana how she comes up with the things, how she handles it, and then Vasco.
Thank you. This is an interesting topic because before COVID, we actually were about to launch our lingerie fashion week, where we have several lingerie designers come together and showcase a collection on one platform. And this was a campaign. This lingerie fashion week is a campaign for breast cancer awareness. So this lingerie fashion week is supposed to take place every October on the 30th of October. And every country, every October is a new show. So unfortunately, since the COVID, we haven't been able to produce this event. And we're looking at doing it this year, but the restrictions and policies still don't allow this event. So this is like a main event I'm really looking forward to producing, as it carries a very strong message. I think I'm cut off.
No, you're connected. We can hear you.
It's an interesting show.
Yeah.
It's an interesting show. Well, before COVID, we produced the show and create awareness during the years that we obviously are here. Probably is a unique event, a private event in Mozambique that have this long life of doing 17 years this year. Last year, and due to COVID, people were speaking about hybrid events and so on. But all of that we already been doing since the beginning because all our shows were broadcast or by TV or via TV and Facebook, so all the digital platforms. But even we were having an average of 400 to 500 people per day seeing physically the shows. So last year we had the challenge of, okay, we could do it on hybrid, but obviously you will not feel the presence of people. So the government at that time had, I believe, 50 or 75 people that were allowed to be present on events. And we spoke with the authorities. We chose a place that is big, is huge. We accommodate about 800 people seated. And they gave us the permission to do with 200, but we didn't do it 200. We did one with 150 shares. It were 150 shares there, spread 2 meters from each one of the other, and we set the rules. We set very strict rules for COVID for people that will be invited to be there. Even when they receive an invite, they have a regulation or COVID regulation for them to understand, and we are very strict. So you have the temperature measurement. We collect all the phones. I'm speaking the phone numbers from each person, because if anything happens, to help to tell the people, say, listen, there's one case, so please be aware, go and test yourself. We had a room that was like a community room.
Yes, sorry.
We have a room that was like, sorry?
Yeah, we just have to come. Sorry to cut you. We just have to come to the end of the session. Like, it's been amazing.
Okay.
I could sit down and go. I could sit and go on and on, but it's been an amazing session having you, Vasco, here, having Diana here, and all that we've been able to speak and dissect on the topic showcasing fashion into the global catwalk. It was awesome having you here. Thank you so much, and just sit tight for the next session. Thank you so much.